Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Was Betrayed Got Unstable and Becomes Dean Ambrose movie. Before we start, please go support Guerrero Legends for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. Issei is framed and sent to Tartarus, the great prison of the Underworld. But a few years later they decide to free him so that he can save them once again. But what they don't know is that during that time madness and pain consumed Issei's mind and soul, leaving a madman in his place. Chapter 1 Alternative. Narrates Issei. Hello, my name is Issei Hayadu, former pawn of Rias. Well, you may wonder why I say that I am her former pawn. Well, it's because I was tired of enduring all the pain that she made me feel as well as the other girls, so I decided to retire from the Gremry clan. I still remember the cruel words she said to me and what I lost because of them. Flashback. Normal narration. We can see Issei walking through the rainy streets of Coast City while he had a lost look. The reason was that the girls had gotten angry with him because of a misunderstanding that happened with his classmate Murayama. Flashback. Issei could be seen talking to his partner and friend Murayama, the captain of the kendo club, while they were in a park. Issei, really that happened? He asked while laughing. Murayama, yes, Kates tried to prove that she was better than Kiba with the sword, and in the end she ended up hanging upside down. She said the same as Issei. Issei, I'm going to kill that Kiba. Murayama, if he isn't killed by Tsubaki first, he said, sticking out his tongue. Issei, you're right. Murayama, and tell me, Issei, how have you been with the girls? Issei, well, things have been tense lately. They get angry about everything, but Rias is more so. Murayama, I see. Issei, well, we better go, it's late. Murayama, if you have. She couldn't finish because a boy had accidentally pushed her, causing Murayama to kiss the brunette, and unfortunately, Kaneko and Kuroko were passing by and had seen what happened. End of flashback. After that, Kuroko and Kaneko quickly went to the other girls and told them that Issei was being unfaithful to them with Murayama. They felt great pain, and when they saw the brown-haired boy arrive they began to argue with him, while he tried to explain to them what happened, but then he heard the words that destroyed him both physically and emotionally. Rias, you are a damn. I wish I had never met you. I would have liked to let you die that night when that fallen one pierced you with the spear. Issei, upon hearing those words, was shattered and ran quickly out of the house, while the girls looked at him with hatred but felt a horrible pain in their hearts. End flashback. Issei narrates, since then my life changed. I had finally opened my eyes, but at what cost? I lost Drake because of those women. He sacrificed himself to prevent me from dying from the sadness and pain he felt. He was like a brother to me, and I lost him because of those women. Now I no longer feel love towards them. Only hatred and indifference. That is why I went to Xerxes to cancel my engagement with his sister. I had explained to her what had happened, as I did with the others, to cancel my engagements with the girls, and they accepted. Now I am doomed to live forever, with no reason to live. I am no longer the Circuitii. I am no longer the pawn or fiancé of Rias Gremry. Now I am only the immortal lunatic Issei Hayadu, he said, emerging from the darkness of the forest, showing that he was wearing the following. Normal narration. Issei, after losing everything most valuable and dear to him, fell into madness and darkness, causing him to become things that no other person can do. Now he was a being of revenge and without feelings of guilt or pain. Now he was in front of an abandoned warehouse where the darkest and bloodiest creature of all had been seen for the last time, Samuel the Hellhound. Issei, time to exterminate some pest, he said, knocking down the door. Seeing a grenade from Samuel's, let the party begin. Chapter 1. In the Gremry castle were all the important houses of the Underworld, and also the leaders of the factions gathered for only one thing: to punish the person responsible for the deaths of hundreds of supernatural beings, and in front of them was the one they considered guilty. Huda Issei, current Circuitii and former pawn of Rias Gremry. Xerxes, Huda Issei, current Circuitii, you are accused of murdering several innocent lives and also trying to free the Triixa. Michael, how do you declare yourself? Issei, however the hell you want, he said, looking up, showing a psychopathic smile. Azazel, Issei, don't make things worse. Issei, more than they already are. Odin, It's obvious you have no humanity left. Yasaka, and to think that I fell in love with you. Xerxes, you will be sent to Tartarus, and never see the light of day again, but first, he said as a magic circle appeared. In it showed how the children who admired him threw everything that they had to do with him into the trash like the adults. But what he thought had to affect him was seeing how the girls he once loved married another man and had relationships with him. Xerxes removed the magic circle to see Issei's face, expecting a painful face, but was surprised to see a big smile on his face. Issei, what are we waiting for? Are they going to take me or not? Yasaka, not yet. We need to take Drake from you and give him a better wielder. Issei, hey, that'll be impossible. Vala, why? Issei, because I just set him free. A few minutes earlier, Issei was having a chat with his partner while being shown all those images. Drake, mate, let me think of something to get you out of here. Issei, impossible, the castle is surrounded and if we escape I will die in just 3 steps. Drake, and you're just going to give up like that? Issei, nope, but I want one of us to leave first. Drake, what do you mean? Issei, I want you to go to Murayama and tell him that he might take me while to keep the promise I made to him. Flashback. Issei could be seen talking to a girl with long brown hair tied in 2 pigtails, eyes of the same color and great beauty. Issei, so that's what you want to be? Murayama, that's right. I want to be a kendo teacher. Issei, and why? Murayama, because I want to teach what I learned during these years during my stay at the academy. Issei, it's clear you want to make a difference. Murayama, really? Issei, that's right. Well, I'll help you. Murayama, but why? Issei, first of all, because I plan to become a mixed arts teacher, and second, because you are my friend Murayama, and I won't leave you alone. Murayama didn't say anything and just hugged him while starting to shed some tears. Murayama, it's a promise. Issei, it's a promise. End flashback. Drake, I'm not leaving you alone, buddy. Issei, and I don't plan on leaving Murayama alone. So go with her and take care of her for my sake until I find a way to return. Dragon, but Issei. Issei, just do it. Drake didn't say anything and just left his body to look for Murayama and explain what happened to Issei. Present time, everyone was more than impressed, but Vala, Azazel and Albion were very grateful that Issei was taking precautions. Xerxes, I've had enough. At this point I'll send you to Tartarus, and you'll never see the light of day again. Saying that, he created a magic circle transporting him to Tartarus. Issei, Murayama, forgive me. Everyone heard that, but they didn't give it any importance. Elsewhere, Murayama could be seen in an apartment training with his kendo sword until he saw a green sphere. Murayama, what is this? He asked, taking the sphere. At that point the sphere would enter her, scaring her a little, but she would be transported to her mental space. Murayama, what is this place? What am I doing here? The place would catch fire and a huge red dragon would appear, surprising Murayama. Draw, hello Murayama. Murayama, you talk. Wait, do you know me? Drake, you were friends with my previous partner, that's why I know you. Murayama, and who was your previous partner? Drake, Issei, he said it with some sadness. Murayama was quite surprised upon hearing Issei's name. Murayama, and what happened to him? Drake, I'll tell you everything. So Drake told her about the supernatural world as well as Issei's adventures, his fights, sacrifices, and how he was framed. Murayama was very sad since her best friend and possible love interest had to pay for a crime he didn't commit, but she was relieved a little to hear that Issei would find a way to get out of there and reunite with her. 7 years later, in some ruins of what was once the Gremory Castle, all the leaders could be seen gathered to discuss an important issue. Michael, they've already taken over half the sky and they don't plan on stopping. Xerxes, they have razed most of the demons' territory, and we have been unable to stop them. Azazel, we at Grigori have toughened the attacks, but we don't know how much longer we can hold out. Odin, in Asgard we managed to repel the attacks, but the problem is those infernal creatures. Yasaka, our magic shields may have held up, but we don't know how long. Sona, 7 years at war and we haven't even been able to confront that idiot Yashida and his army of white walkers and monsters. Zeoticus, and what about the human world? Kuroka, it seems that they have managed to resist the attacks thanks to the weapons they built and the new Circuitii. Biko, although it does not have the same power as the previous one, it has managed to keep the enemy hordes at bay. Seraphal, and have you managed to find out anything about her? Rias, no. Every time we approach him to talk, he attacks us and leaves us in the worst possible way and repeats over and over again. You betrayed the former hero of the factions. Everyone, upon hearing this, fell silent and regretted having betrayed him, but the girls who were once his master began to cry silently. Zeus, I don't understand why they didn't let him prove his innocence. Horus, that boy was pure of heart. Hades, aside from saving their pathetic asses more than once. Xerxes, please tell us why you didn't suffer an attack? He said this trying to evade the subject. Anubis, that's cowardly, Xerxes. Avoiding the issue instead of facing it. Leave it, Anubis, it's not worth it. Horus, and the answer to your question is because a somewhat strange symbol appeared in our territories, but it makes attackers flee when they see it. Poseidon, it also happened on Olympus. Gabriel, and how do we know they're not lying to us? In this, Zeus and Ares would show in both magic circles how their people bowed to some symbols that were quite strange to them, one painted on a pyramid and the other on Mount Olympus. Azazel, what does that symbol mean? Valley, I don't know, but one already appeared in the city of Qua which is being protected, but that Circuitii said, showing how the same symbol appeared in the center of the city, drawing the attention of citizens, soldiers, and the Circuitii. Xerxes, but what's going on? Zeus, to find out we must go to the source. Hades, Tartarus. Everyone was surprised to learn that the origin of those symbols was in Tartarus, but Azazel was already getting an idea of who the cause was. While in Tartarus, on what looked like a wall of ice, you could see a subject with somewhat long hair, as well as his beard painting the same symbol that appeared in Olympus, Egypt, and Qua. Miriama, very soon I will see you again and I will protect you from anyone who wants to hurt you, said the subject, and proceeded to write the name of the city where Miriama was. Chapter 2. After the Olympian gods told the origin of those symbols, everyone proceeded to go to Tartarus to find out who was the cause, but those who were getting an idea of who it was were Azazel, Vala, and Albion. Zeus, well, we better get going now. He couldn't finish as a dimensional rift opened in front of them, from which Ophis, Great Red, and Triaxa emerged in their human forms. Note: here Triaxa was never bad and only had rivalries with Ophis. Apart from the fact that the 3 dragon gods will be women later, I will put an image of what Great Red and Triaxa will be like. Triaxa, wow, I see you're planning to go to the origin of those symbols. Odin, Triaxa, Great Red, Ophis. What are you doing here? Big Red, we want to accompany you. Ophis, I'm also getting an idea of who is responsible. Anubis, well then I think it would be better if we go now. Thus Anubis created a magic circle teleporting them to the depths of hell. When they arrived they saw what looked like a huge triangular prison, and around it a large labyrinth that seemed to have no end. Rias, so this is Tartarus? Hares, that's right, girl. The great prison of the Underworld and the place where the ex-Circuitii was sent. The girls along with the other leaders just remained silent because thanks to their stupidity, they sent their only friend/love to the darkest place in hell. Xerxes, after discovering the origin of those symbols, I will take charge of freeing him myself. You've already done more than enough by sending him here, demon. Zeus, now leave this in our hands. The others didn't say anything and proceeded to enter Tartarus. As they entered they heard the agony of everyone who was there. The girls feared that Issei was one of those poor souls suffering there. Zeus and Ares were guiding them until they reached what looked like a large block of ice that was being carried by 10 men from each faction except the Egyptians and Olympians. Demon 1, wow, they are the leaders of the factions and the dragon gods. Angel 1, what do you bring here? We came to see the man who is in this place. Fallen 1, We're sorry, but this guy was accused of treason and hasn't seen the light of day since as ordered. Yasaka, and who is supposed to be here? Yokai 1, don't you remember anymore? Asgardian 1, he is Huda Issei, the former Circeudii. Everyone except the Olympian and Egyptian gods were shocked to hear Issei's name. The girls began to shed tears and ran to the large block of ice to try to break it. Demon 2, what's wrong with him? Xerxes, let me tell you. Xerxes then proceeded to tell the guards how they had been tricked by Yashida in order to gain more power and create his own army of monsters to conquer the world, and also how he had framed the Circeudii. To say that the guards were very angry was an understatement, since they had been tricked into taking out their only hope. Zeus, well, they're done talking. Saying that, he began to form a large sphere of lightning while forming one of fire, and at the same time they threw it at the large block of ice, breaking the seal it had, thus collapsing a part of the cube so they could enter. "Ra, boy, where are you?" he shouted to know Issei's location. "Zeus, boy, we came to get you out of this place." "Rias, Issei, where are you?" she screamed at the top of her lungs. But none of them received an answer until they heard some chains. Ra decided to set his staff on fire, but what they saw shocked them, since on the walls was the same symbol that protected Egypt, Olympus, and Qua, but they were painted in blood. But then a slightly tall man appeared, with short, ruffled hair, a somewhat short beard, a white shirt, bandages on his hands, and jeans. "Is it time for me to get out of here?" "Zeus, that's right, kid. Ra, it's time for you to show what you're made of, Issei." Everyone was very impressed since the man in front of them was their greatest friend/love. "Everyone, are you really Issei?" Chapter 3. After the leaders and company went to the deepest part of Tartarus, and were shocked to learn that the cause of those symbols was the one they once considered a friend/brother/love. "All, Issei, is that you?" Issei, hearing them call him by his old name, turned to see who they were until he saw all the people who betrayed him. "Issei, as I see, you brought unpleasant company," he said this while looking with a penetrating gaze at the Egyptian and Olympic gods. "Rias, my Issei, my beloved Issei," she said while shedding tears and running towards Issei to hug him. But then Issei would do something that no one expected. He slapped Rias hard, knocking her to the ground and drawing a little blood. Everyone was more than shocked by the ex-brunette's action, but Xerxes got quite upset and tried to confront Issei. "Xerxes, tell me why you hit my sister?" he asked while bringing out his aura of destruction. Issei didn't say anything and just grabbed him by the neck, lifting him up without any problems, surprising everyone present with what Issei was doing. "Issei, you asked me why. First you accused me of a crime I didn't commit, then you show me how this group of sluts marry and sleep with the man who this day is still alive, exterminating all supernatural beings with his huge army. They send me here to Tartarus for 7 years. 7 bucking long years, and now you come thinking that I was going to help you so that son of a bitch doesn't get away with it." Everyone was silent as what their former comrade said was true. Issei, "Well, let me tell you something, princess. I will not stand up for you, or for them, or for the supernatural world. The only ones who will have my protection will be the humans, the Olympian and Egyptian gods, and let's not forget the 3 dragon goddesses." "Seraphal, Issei-chan, please," she said, starting to cry. "Issei, shut up, your dirty leviathan. That's not my name anymore, I'm called Dean Ambrose." "Michael, Issei, please, we are very sorry for not having listened to you, just let us explain." Issei didn't say anything and just threw Xerxes at him, and Michael caught him, but in that he would grab a piece of the ice block and smash it on his head. "Dean, who else wants?" "Rias, Issei, you are my pawn and fiancé, so come and give me a hug." "Dean, I'm your pawn, ha 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 ha, and then also your fiancé, ha 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 ha. You really are an idiot. Remember that you married that idiot who, by the way, made me very happy to know that he cheated on you, and also remember that you took my Gremry pawn pieces." Rias just started to spill like the others. "Dean, you better go cry somewhere else because I'm going to believe those tears," he said, starting to walk out of Tartarus. "Odin, kid," he shouted, stopping Dean, "we need you." "Dean, you said it to yourself when you were blaming me. We never needed you and we never will. Let's see how you manage to face this threat." He was going to continue walking, but Kunu and Milikas stood in front of him. Milikas, please Issei-san help us, he said, shedding tears. Kunu, Odo-san, please come back to us and be the father I never had. Dean just crouched down to the little one's height, pretending that they had managed to convince him. Dean, oh, they are so stupid if they think that by using their tenderness they will change my mind. And you, Kunu, you better get used to being without a father, because nobody would want to be with a girl as hypocritical as you. He said this making both children cry, but Kunu more. If you have nothing else to say, I'm leaving. Gabriel, wait, I have something else to say. Dean, quick, and if it's another stupidity like those morons, I won't hesitate to kill you. Gabriel, let's settle this in a duel in 3 days. We will choose a fighter to represent us, and if we win you will stay with us and help us, he said with a confident smile. Dean, but if I win they'll leave me alone. Seraphal, hey. Dean, but don't think it's going to be like your silly duels. It'll be a fight without rules, without limits, it'll be inside a cage. That impressed everyone since he wanted to do this fight in a cage. And after saying that he disappeared into the darkness while Zeus, Issei and Great Red made a magic circle to get to his location, leaving the other leaders thinking about what to do after the duel. Searches, so what are we going to do next? Michael, how about a feast to celebrate your return? Azazel, I think that's fine, but I think we should notify all facts about Issei's return. Odin, sounds good to me. Yasaka, come on Kunu, don't cry anymore. Kunu, it's just that my Odo-san hates me, and thanks to the fact that I decided to believe a stranger instead of him. Yasaka, you'll see that we'll get him to be with us and he'll be your father. Sona, well, it would be better if we went to get everything ready for the duel. So they all proceeded to leave Tartarus thinking that victory would be theirs. While in the human world, we see how Dean was in front of a house while he had a face between serious and sad. Dean, I hope she hasn't forgotten me or that she's still mad at me. So he proceeded to ring the bell, and after a few minutes he saw a brunette girl, with brown eyes and great beauty, come out. Hello, how can I help you? Dean didn't say anything and just hugged the girl, who was surprised by the action. Dean, I missed you so much, Murayama-chan. The girl, already identified as Murayama, would start to shed many tears since there was only one person who called her that. Murayama to Issei. Chapter 4. Murayama couldn't believe that the person hugging her was the man she had been waiting for so long. She hugged Dean with all her strength, as she didn't want him to leave her side again. Dean, nice to see you again, Murayama. Murayama, my friend. Dean, I see the overgrown lizard took good care of you. Drake, hey, you're barely free and you're already insulting me. Dean, wow, you turned out to be so delicate. Drake, buck your mother. Murayama, both already. Dean, he is always so cute when you get angry. Murayama would only blush at Dean's comment, but then a short-haired, pink-haired girl would arrive. Kates, hey Murayama, who is he? Murayama, don't you recognize that it's Huda Issei? Kates, qui. Dean, hi Kates. Kates, are you really Huda? Dean, the great and only. Kates, you've changed quite a bit. You actually look a lot more handsome. That comment would make Murayama very jealous. Drake would just laugh and Dean would give a warm smile. Dean, okay, changing the subject. How have my parents been? Both girls would just remain silent as some tears began to fall. Dean, I understand. You can take me. So the three of them would leave the house to walk to what was a cemetery. A few minutes passed until they came to some pills that had Dean's parents' names written on them. Dean, who was it? Murayama, Johnny and the Night King. Dean would just clench his fists as he began to shed tears. Kates, I'm really sorry, Issei. In that, some magic circles would appear from which Zeus, Ophis, Great Red and Triexa emerged. Zeus, boy, we've lost a lot of valuable people in our lives because of that bastard. That's why we need you. The three dragon goddesses, please Issei. Dean didn't say anything and just placed what looked like a medallion on his father's grave. He would slowly get up and then let out a great scream in which there was hate, pain, and sadness. The only thing the girls could do was hug him from behind to try to comfort him. Dean, I swear I'll make those bastards pay for this myself. Murayama, Issei? Dean, but first I have to take care of those idiots, so they'll leave me alone. Kates, what are you talking about? Zeus, Dean made a deal with the other faction leaders. They are going to have a fight in which Dean will have to face a fighter of their choice. Traicion, if he wins, they will leave him alone. Ophis, but if he loses he'll have to join them again. Murayama, I will not allow it. Dean, don't worry, I'll be fine. Besides, 7 years in Tartarus will serve you well. Kates, but why do they call him Dean? Big Red, you could say that's her new name. Zeus, Dean Ambrose. Dean, well, I guess I'll have to find a place to stay. Murayama, well, you can come live with me, he said this while playing with his fingers. Dean, thank you, Murayama. Ophis, we want to be with you too. Dean, huh? Big Red, you have shown us that you are a good man and we also want to protect you from anything. Traicion, it's the least we can do to help each other. Kate's thoughts, damn, I've got some competition. So everyone proceeded to go to Murayama's house while Ra and Zeus went to their factions. Dean spent all his time training, although sometimes he dedicated it to the girls so they could get to know each other better. But during that time a feeling grew in their hearts seeing Dean in a different way. After 2 days Dean and the girls went to Hell to fix things once and for all. In Hell, we could see the leaders very confident since they had assured victory. In that, the Greek faction, the Egyptian faction, and the girls in love with Issei appear. Searches, where is Issei? Zeus, he is already in the combat arena. At that, a big shout was heard and everyone came out seeing a big crowd while holding up dragon signs. It seems like they are very confident that their fighter is going to win. Azazel, fighters. Ophis, what? In that, on a big screen you could see the Gremry entourage, Phoenix, Citri, Baal, Vala with his team and Thor. Traicion, they are damned. Murayama, I'll go help him, she said, activating her armor, surprising everyone that she was the new bearer of Drake. Michael, sorry, but you can't, since I accepted the challenge. Not you. Kates, damn you. While in the arena, all of Dean's rivals could be seen ready while he stood in some sort of entrance with a smile. Dean, finally I can have fun with my new toys. Chapter 5. All the fighters who were on the side of the supernatural world were waiting for their opponent, until they heard a song that nobody knows why but it would give them goosebumps. At that point they would see Dean Ambrose come out wearing a white shirt, white bandages on his hands, and dark jeans. Dean was walking while looking at his new toys with a psychopathic look and a demented smile. His rivals felt a great chill when they saw that smile, but even so they would not give up, they would get the victory no matter what the cost, and they would make Dean Ambrose join them again. Murayama, you guys are bucking bastards. Searches, we will do whatever it takes to get Issei back with us. Yasaka, he will be my husband and the father of my little Kanu. Kanu, Dad will finally be by my side and no one will be able to change that. Murayama was going to continue arguing but Drake would stop her. Drake, calm down, buddy, he'll be fine. Kates, how do you know Drake? Drake, well, you can tell by the manic smile on his goofy face. Everyone was sweating anime style at the Welsh dragon's comment. Stop the music. In the arena, Dean had stood in front of his rivals at a distance of 7 meters while both sides stared at each other. Then the captain of the supernatural world team Vala prepared to face his rival while putting on his armor. Valley, it doesn't have to be this way, buddy, just surrender and no one will get hurt. Dean would just look at him with a face of seriously sincere. When do you think like that, you bucking idiot? Rias, please Issei, I want things to be like before, come back with me. Dean would just grab his head and start laughing like a madman, scaring everyone present. Dean, you really think I'm going to join you after what you did to me? You're all hypocrites, imbeciles, bastards. Serorg, if you want it that way. Razor, but it was supposed to be without rules and in a cage, right? Vala, where is your cage? Dean didn't say anything and just pointed to the sky, and everyone could see a huge cage that almost covered half of the sand, but it seemed to be electrified. Dean, without warning, began to attack Vala, breaking his helmet and some parts of his armor. The others tried to intervene, but the cage had already completely lowered, leaving Vala and Dean alone in their fight. Dean began to hit him in the face, causing the bearer of the White Dragon Emperor to start bleeding. Dean kept hitting him with blow after blow until he decided to lift him up and slam him against the fence, causing him to scream in pain. Vala tried to get up from the fence, but Dean held his head pressed against the fence, causing Vala to scream more as he tried to break free from the hold. Rias, Issei, please remove it now. Asia, you're not like that, Issei. Dean would not make it home and would start to walk Vala's face all over the cage, causing more blood to come out of his face. Serorg, Thor, and Razor would have managed to enter thanks to a hole they had made in the cage, thus trying to attack from behind, but he would notice and would throw Vala's dying body at them and begin the massacre. He would tear off one of Razor's arms and begin to hit him with it while he was wrapped in fire. Thor would try to hit him with his hammer, but Dean would move quickly, causing Thor to hit Razor, sending him against the cage, thus electrocuting himself. Dean took advantage of that carelessness and lunged at him, starting to hit him in the face while Thor tried to get him off. Serorg would grab him by the shirt, but Dean would begin to give him a series of blows and machete blows, cracking his armor. But in that he would feel that someone turned him around, seeing that it was Kaneko who hit him in the face, sending all of Rias' entourage flying. Serorg, Sona, and Rias had entered the cage to help their companions. Rias, are you okay, cousin? Serorg, I'm fine, Rias, but I see that it will be very difficult to defeat Issei. Valley, he's a madman. At that, the debris from which Ambrose was sent flew everywhere, revealing the aforementioned without a scratch and with something in his hand. Kaneko, how is that possible if I hit him with all my strength? Dean would show what he had in his hand, surprising everyone to see a baseball bat, but not an ordinary one, but one with barbed wire and still covered with magic. Dean, come for me if you dare, he said while kissing his bat, causing everyone without exception to tremble in fear. Rias, Kiba. Kiba, yes, President. So Kiba went to attack with his sacred demonic sword, but Dean would dodge it without any difficulty and would begin to hit Kiba with the baseball bat, mercilessly shocking and horrifying all the spectators who were watching the massacre that Dean was doing with Kiba. Finally, Dean would grab Kiba and apply the dirty deeds, leaving him unconscious and eliminating him from the fight. In that, Graphia's voice would be heard saying the following. Graphia, the participant Kiba has been eliminated, she said it with such shock, seeing the massacre he did to poor Kiba. Dean, now. Who's next? He said, pointing with his bat at his rivals. The Kulos were more than horrified by what he had done to the Knight of Rias. Chapter 6. Dean Ambrose was staring at his opponents while putting on a psychopathic face. Everyone was more than shocked to see Dean Ambrose's behavior, as he massacred Kiba without any remorse, but they decided to pay attention to what he was going to say. Dean, if you surrender, you can be spared the suffering I have planned for all of you. Everyone was surprised upon hearing that, but started laughing, angering those on Dean Ambrose's side. Thor, come on kid, stop joking around. Serorg, don't you see that you are the one at a disadvantage? Vala, there are more of us and you are just one. Rias, please Issei, we don't want to hurt you. Kuroka, Issei and Naya, just give up and we'll be back together like before. Kaneko, please senpai. Dean just cracked his neck and pointed his bat at them while Kiba's blood was still running down it. Dean, I'd rather die than be with bastards like you again, he said it with great hatred and madness in his words. Everyone bowed their heads upon hearing that while the girls just started to cry. All the supernatural beings were more than sorry for what they had done to her, but they could no longer do anything to erase the great wound they had caused. Zenobia, Issei, if you are not mine, then she said while wielding her Durandal, you will not belong to anyone. Saying that, she proceeded to attack while the others only tried to stop her. Dean just spread his arms out to the sides while smiling. Dean, come to Ambrose. Saying that, Zenobia tried to pierce Dean's chest, worrying everyone since he hadn't planned to dodge or block it, but they were shocked to see how Duran split into two just by touching Dean Ambrose's chest. Zenobia, this can't be, she said. It was very shocked. In that she would receive a blow to the face from Dean, everyone was more than frozen by the lunatic's action, but without caring that they saw him, Dean grabbed his bat and hit her in the face, leaving her unconscious. Graphia, say Zenobia has been eliminated. She said this with great fear of what was going to happen to the others. Dean, who's next? He asked with a lot of madness in his voice. Stop the music. Everyone was more than shocked by how Dean had eliminated Zenobia without remorse, but the first to come out of that impression was Thor, who put on an angry face. Thor, I can't believe you did that, kid. Dean, look at the little princess, she's already disgusted. Thor, unable to hold back any longer, lunged at Dean, but before he could hit him, Dean grabbed him by the head and leapt high before slamming him into the ground. He then grabbed the hammer, and to everyone's surprise managed to lift it up. Thor, who was just getting up, couldn't believe that someone else could lift his hammer. Dean, I'll destroy you, he said this and then threw the hammer at Thor's face, knocking him unconscious. Graphia, Thor has been eliminated. Dean saw everyone who was left and took a great leap into the sky and then came down, hitting the ground, causing it to break and several rocks to bury most of his rivals. Graphia, most of the combatants have been eliminated. Only Rias, Aquino, Serorg, Razor, Veli, Biko and Arthur remain. Razor, now what are we going to do? Valley, I know, we'll distract him while the girls prepare their best attacks to throw at him. Rias, it's a great plan. So all the remaining fighters went to attack Dean while Rias and Aquino prepared their attacks. Dean, seeing them, just went crazy, and then he was attacked and fell down a large rubble, so everyone proceeded to hit him, but they didn't do anything to him. Dean, they are so pathetic, he said while holding Vala's fist. Dean, now more than fed up, used Vala to hit the others, sending them against the cage, thus eliminating Biko and Arthur. Then, with Vala's body, he pierced the roof of the cage, leaving both of them on top of it. Dean, let's see if you can fly without your wings. Saying that, he ripped off his dragon wings, causing him to scream loudly and then throwing him out of the cage, where he fell to the ground roughly and was eliminated. Razor and Serorg didn't know what to do anymore until they saw how the girls already had their attacks ready. Both proceeded to go against Dean, both holding him by both arms while the girls threw their attacks, hitting him full force, causing a huge explosion. Razor and Serorg stared at the smoke screen with a smile, thinking that they had already won, but that smile disappeared when they saw Dean intact but with flames on his back. Dean, that almost hurt, he said it while with a simple movement he put out the flames. Music plays. Rias, how could you possibly toughen that? She said it with great fear. Aquino, he should have at least had a scratch. Dean, it's time to counterattack. Saying that, he took his bat and went against Razor and Serorg, creating a huge massacre with them, leaving them with several wounds and missing some limbs. Graphia, so only Rias, Gremory and Aquino Himajima are left standing. Dean looked at the aforementioned girls like a predator at his prey. The girls tense upon feeling that gaze. Aquino tried to get closer to him, but when she did, Dean grabbed her and slammed her face first into the ground, knocking her unconscious. Dean, there's only you left, he said while looking at Rias with a sadistic smile. Rias, what are you going to do to me? I asked with great fear. Dean just snapped his fingers and the cage was no longer electrified. It was now surrounded by Rias' aura of destruction. Everyone who was watching was shocked to see that, but they saw how Dean grabbed Rias by the neck and approached one of the walls of the cage. Dean, feel your power, he said it madly. Rias, Issei, please don't. It didn't end as Dean slammed him into the cage, causing him to scream in pain. Everyone was terrified, even the dragon gods, to see how ruthless Dean Ambrose can be with his enemies. After a total of 20 minutes, the screams could no longer be heard and a nearly dead Rias could be seen. Graphia, to all the combatants have been eliminated. Dean Ambrose is the winner, she said with great terror. Dean just dropped Rias's body and proceeded to leave without caring what was happening around him. Rias, Issei, please don't go, was the only thing she managed to say before falling unconscious. Chapter 7. After the great massacre that Dean Ambrose started, everyone didn't know what to think, their minds were blank. They never believed that the hero who once saved their lives was capable of hurting their friends and companions, much less the women who had promised to love him. Dean disappeared from the battle zone. That put everyone present on alert, but as if it were a child's game, he appeared in the middle of all the leaders. Searches, but how is that? Dean, I won, so you all have to do your part. Michael, and we will. Azazel, when this madness is over and you come back to us. Dean, I knew they weren't going to keep their word. Murayama, they are bastards. Odin, we will do whatever it takes to get him back. Yasaka, and if that requires us to kill them, we will do so without hesitation. Murayama was going to capture his armor, and the dragon goddesses were going to launch a great magic attack, but they would be stopped by Dean. Dean, do you think I'll turn to you after what you did to me? He said it very, very angry, although his voice sounded more demented. Kunu, please Odo-san, give us another chance. Dean, no. Odin, then it will be bad. Saying that, the leaders began to increase their energy, while the Maus, cadres and Seraphim did the same. Dean, at least I'm not going to take all this fun with me. At that point, a song would be heard that would leave the leaders, the dragon goddesses and the girls accompanying Dean Ambrose somewhat confused. Everyone didn't know what was happening. Then the lights would go out and after a few seconds they would come back, but now Dean would be accompanied by about 2 men and wearing military-type clothing just like the guys who had appeared. Seth, now the party's about to start. Roman, who wants to be the first to play with us? The leaders didn't say anything and just rushed at them. Roman would apply a spear to Michael, Seth would jump and grab Azazel by the neck and then do a pirouette and crash him back into the ground. Dean kicked Zeechas and Odin in the stomach and then applied the dirty deeds to them. Yasaka thought she wouldn't do anything to him and just started to approach Dean in a very provocative way while he looked at her neutrally. Yasaka, Issei, my dear Issei, I know you would never hurt me. Murayama, maybe not, but I do. He said this while moving Dean and giving him a big punch in the face. Nobody messes with my guy. What did he just say? Murayama covered her mouth and began to blush from the embarrassment she felt at that moment. Dean, how cute, he thought as he looked at Murayama with a warm smile making him blush more. Seraphal, Penemu and Gabriel were going to approach Dean but would be intercepted by Ophis, Isabella and Liz. Note, Isabella will be Trix's name and Liz will be Big Red's name. Seraphal, step aside. Isabella, we won't let them get close to Dean. Gabriel, we're not going to repeat it. Ophis, I smell a threat, he said this while putting on a sadistic smile. Penemu, we just want to talk to Issei. Liz, that's not his name anymore. He's Dean Ambrose now. Seraphal was ready to attack but saw how Dean stood behind the dragons and gave them a hug. Dean, it's not worth fighting them. We'd better get going now. The dragons just blushed but decided to listen to their love interest. Seraphal, Issei, let us talk for a moment. Dean just ignored them and proceeded to walk to where his friends, classmates, and love interests were. Dean, from now on I don't care in the slightest what happens to you. But then the voice of a child would be heard stopping Dean and his companions. Child, please don't go up, a dragon. Chapter 8. Dean and the others turned their gaze to where that voice came from. Seeing the child who greatly admired the exporter of the Red Dragon, he approached Dean while holding a doll of him with the Circuiti armor. Child, please, a dragon, you have taught me that I should never give up. Give us a second chance. He said this while holding out the doll for me to grab. Dean would grab the doll and stare at it for a moment, while some tears were present. Everyone thought that the little boy had convinced him, but then Dean, using some force, would destroy the doll in front of his eyes. Dean, I'm not that a dragon anymore. I'm not the damn lapdog of the facts anymore. Hayata Issei is dead, and it was thanks to you, stupid kid. The child began to cry as he watched his hero's toy lying on the floor, all broken. Dean, I'm not a hero. I'm just a survivor. Saying that, he addressed his team, who were shocked by what he had done, even Roma and Seth. Seraphal, Issei, please, she said this, starting to shed many tears. Dean, I've said it many times, that's not my name. Gabriel, give us another chance. Penemu, just one. Dean was about to say something but was sent flying by the impact of a large rock. Everyone turned to look in the direction where the large rock came from, seeing a large gray monster. Everyone looked at that huge being with great fear except Roman and Seth, who had a somewhat sadistic smile. Roman, finally an opponent worth facing. Seth, not the same, I mean Roman. At that, the rubble where Dean was sent flew away, revealing an Ambrose with just a few scratches. Dean, who was the idiot who threw that at me? Everyone just pointed at the monster, which gave a powerful roar that made all of hell tremble. Dean, I'll take care of this, he said while cracking his neck. Seth, you've had your fun, now leave it to me. They both started to argue, but they saw Roman approaching the monster while snapping his hands. Roman, to face a tank you need a tank, he said this as he began to glow, and when it dissipated he was wearing Roman armor. Everyone didn't know what to say about what they had just seen, since from one moment to the next Roman Reigns had armor, and his power had increased considerably. Dean, whatever you want, Roman, he shouted so he could hear him. Seth, but next time it's my turn. Roman stared at the monster, and it sent a rock that Roman managed to block with his shield. The monster ran towards him to try to hit him, but Roman hit him in the face, and then made his hands shine purple, and then fired a ball of energy that hit the monster and sent it flying. Ophis, but how? Yasaka, it's hard for us to fight one of those monsters, and that guy sends him flying as if he were nothing, she said, impressed watching Roman Reigns. Murayama, incredible, that guy is that strong. I can't even imagine how much power he has over another guy. Viento said it to Seth, especially Dean. He said it while watching Ambrose preparing a taco without any worries. Roman stared at the rubble where the monster was sent, and then saw how they were thrown out, revealing the monster that had slight scratches but was visibly very angry. Roman, well, let's start with the second round, he said, putting himself on guard. The monster just gave a stiff nod and lunged at Roman, while he just stood there waiting for the monster. Chapter 9. The monster tried to hit Roman, but he crouched down and hit him with his shield, stunning him, and gave him a precise blow to the lower part of the neck, making him unable to breathe. Roman grabbed one of his hands and began to spin him around and around until he let go, causing him to crash into 5 houses. Everyone couldn't believe the strength that the older dog possessed. Seraphal, amazing. Gabriel, his strength is monstrous. Penemu, and it seems that he still has more to prove. Everyone would still be watching Roman's fight without realizing that Seth and Dean would be increasing their power a little since they felt dark auras approaching. In the fight, Roman would land a few combos on the monster that made him retreat, but then a fist came out of the ground and hit Roman squarely, sending him flying towards Ambrose, who waited for a few seconds until he decided to move, causing Roman to collide with the leaders who were just getting up. Roman, damn, who hit me? Then he sees that 2 other creatures very similar to the one he was fighting came out of the ground. The 3 beings gave a powerful roar, causing the place to start to shake and several houses to start to collapse. Roman, hey, what do you think if you help me? Seth, not that you wanted to take care of this yourself. Dean, but we're not going to deny your invitation, Roman, he said as a white light surrounded him as well as Seth. The light intensified quite a bit, causing everyone to cover their eyes. When it dissipated, they were left with their jaws on the floor as they couldn't believe the change they had taken as well as the power they were releasing. Dean, how about we start kicking some filthy ass? He said, cracking his knuckles. Everyone was very shocked to see how Dean looked now, as he looked like a street fighter. He had a white shirt, a sleeveless black leather vest, a chain on his left hand, bandages on his right, dark pants with some holes and black military-style boots. Seth, I think I'm fine, but Roman, if I were you, I'd be serious since it seems like these guys have more to teach. Seth had a large katana and his body looked robotic with red stripes and shorts. He looked like a samurai. Roman, okay, just give me a minute, he said, and then was surrounded by the same light. Everyone looked closely at the light, expecting Roman Reigns' next transformation, but they were surprised to see that he was wearing a blue combat suit with some white parts and 2 RRs on his chest. The 3 of them were going to throw themselves and saw that the monsters dissolved into a liquid form and then joined together, adopting a larger and more powerful form, thus giving a powerful roar that made the entire underworld tremble. Dean, okay, this is going to get ugly, he said before being sent flying very far away by a powerful blow from the monster. They always hit me at the beginning, he shouted so they could hear him. The monster would spit a large flame of fire, causing Roman and Seth to create a force field covering the place so that no one would get hurt, and that the monster would be hit by a large rock. He looked at the cause, noticing Dean, who had a large rock in his hand. The monster approached him, but Dean threw the large rock he had in his hand at him, and then ran since the monster was going to throw another flame of fire. Dean was going to receive the attack if it were not for Roman, who took him by the arms and flew out of there while a blue energy covered reins. Roman, it's clear that you've improved a lot, buddy. Dean, eye on the cliff. So they both flew towards there while the monster followed them. Seth, I'll try to drain his energy. You guys try to get everyone out of here, he said, flying towards the monster. Seth stood on top of him and stretched his hands out in front of him, causing a large crimson-red aura to begin to emerge from his body. But a certain Gremry family was shocked to recognize that energy. Then Lana, no, it can't be, she said, shocked. Zeoticus, boo, but it is. Xerxes, it is the energy of destruction. Rias, but how does he have it? Aquino, then we find out. We have to get out of here. Then they see Roman and Dean approaching. Murayama, Issei, what's wrong? He asked while running towards the chestnut tree with the dragon goddesses and Kates. Dean, Seth is buying us some time. Zeus, for what? Roman, so they can escape. Are what? We can't create magic circles and we can't fly either. Dean, follow us. Dean started running in one direction while being followed by Roman and the supernatural beings that were in the area. Everyone ran in the direction where Dean was going until they reached the cliff that Ambrose had mentioned. Odin, brat, you left no way out. Azazel, you were supposed to get us out of here. Dean, shut up now or I'll gladly throw you off the cliff, he said, silencing the others. Roman. The Roman just acknowledged and rose into the sky and expelled some of his energy, and then created a transparent blue bridge. Roman, go away, go away. Azazel stepped on the bridge that Roman had created, seeing that it was solid. Then he waved his hand, letting the clans of the supernatural world pass first. Dean just looked towards where Seth was, as well as the Gremry clan, the dragon goddesses, the leaders, Murayama and Kates. Watching that, the monster began to stagger while Seth drained its energy. But then they noticed that Roland's aura changed from gold to red as he began to moan in pain, then stopped absorbing his energy, and fell to the ground, forming a small crater. Dean ran to where he was and held him on his shoulders. Seth, that's a lot of energy, he said weakly. Dean, but there is still the non-technological way, he said, and then jumped towards the monster. Being in front of his face, he hit him hard in the face that made him back away. Then he climbed on his chest and began to run down his face, giving him another blow to the jaw. Then he placed himself on his shoulder and hit him 3 times in the face. Dean began to sweat a lot but wanted to hit him again. But he was grabbed by the monster and thrown into the cliff with great abruptness, being embedded in the end. The monster approached the cliff and saw that Roman had his guard down since he was very focused on the bridge. Already seeing that the last civilian crossed, he looked back only to find that the monster was preparing another attack, only this time of destruction. Roman saw that he had no time to dodge it, so he created a shield with his energy to withstand the attack. But he saw that little by little it was cracking, until he could not hold the shield any longer, breaking, receiving the attack full on, destroying much of his clothing and leaving him with severe burns. Dean, Roman, he shouted as he approached the place where he fell. He saw that Reigns didn't respond to him. He got angry and prepared a gray sphere to attack the monster that was walking on the opposite side of where they were. Dean was going to throw it, but seeing that it could maybe hurt his loved one, he decided not to do it and let him go. Chapter 10. Underworld Citri Hospital. The Citri Hospital, one of the most famous hospitals in the Underworld for its care and its way of healing the wounded and sick, We can see how in one of the rooms of this hospital were the leaders with their companions as well as Issei with his friends watching a very injured Roman reigns and connected to a respirator. Searches, why did you let it go Issei? He shouted, annoyed and worried. Could it not occur to your mind that thing can destroy the underworld? Dean, first it's your fault that this is happening. Second, I don't care anymore that the supernatural world is going to shit, and third, you're alive, right? So leave me alone, he said angrily, surprising the supernatural beings that he said that. Seth, hey, there's no point in fighting each other now, we've got a huge monster loose out there. It's true that this is all the fault of the supernatural beings, but now we have to concentrate on stopping that beast. Rollins is right, Dean, he said, waking up from the beating they gave him. They have to find the weak point of that thing. Dean, luckily I know who to get that information from, he said, and then grabbed Azazel by the neck and slammed him against the ground. Michael, Issei, what are you doing? He asked, alarmed by what had happened. Dean only proceeded to squeeze Azazel's throat further, as he pulled him closer in an intimidating manner. Dean, are you going to start singing, or do I have to force the information out of you? I asked while staring at him. Yasaka, Azazel, what is Issei talking about? Dean, shut up, bitch, I'm the one asking the questions here, he said seriously, saddening Yasaka. Kunu, hey, she just wants to help, you don't need to call her that. Or he didn't finish because Dean slapped him. Dean, don't call me that again, you stopped meaning anything to me after you turned your back on me just like all your friends and companions, he said, saddening everyone but especially little Kunu. And now you, start talking, he said, looking at Azazel. Azazel, okay. When we discovered Yashida's lies, I began experimenting with the DNA of different beings from our facts. Seth, thus resulting in that creature, he said seriously, looking at Azazel. Zeus, it's obvious that you're a complete idiot, Azazel, he said, annoyed. Alright, but how did you know that beast was an Azazel Dean project? Dean, before I locked myself in I was able to see some documents, and among them all was that bucking beast. Azazel, I'm sorry if I had no idea. Anubis, you better shut up, Azazel, he said, annoyed. Dean, very well, Azazel, he said, lifting him as if he weighed nothing. Now you will tell me how to stop that damn beast. Azazel, he can still control my XP remnant again, he said weakly. Dean, maybe you want to control it, but I want to destroy that thing, so tell me how to destroy that beast, or I swear that the fallen faction will cease to exist, he said, annoyed, squeezing Azazel's neck tighter as well as scaring everyone present. Azazel, you wouldn't be capable. Seth, you better not put him through it, kid, he said seriously, watching how Dean tightened his grip. Azazel looked into Dean's eyes, searching for lies in them, but in the end it was not so, seeing that he was determined to destroy his faction if he did not start talking, so without further ado he gave him what he wanted. Azazel, they have go to attack the new CLE of their power with 1 meter long staves Mada with dragon scales, he said, and was then released by Dean. Seth, so tell me, where should we drive those stakes? Azazel, at the top, but he will see you, you will never make it. Dean, we are not as weak as you, he said, making the facts feel bad. Zeus, he could have sent some men to entertain him. Me too, buddy. Dean, with all due respect, Mr. Zeus and Mr. But we prefer to do this alone, we don't want to put more people at risk. You're sure of that, young Ambrose? Seth, we are more than determined to do this alone, gentlemen. Zeus, okay, but if there ever is a problem, you can trust us for help, young Ambrose. Plus, I don't want my daughter to start hitting me just for helping her love interest. Issei, sorry, could you repeat it to me? He said, thinking that he didn't hear well. I'm going to beat the shit out of you if you die, honey, and I can also bring you back to life to kill you again if you die on this mission, he said, sending shivers down everyone's spine as Dean began to slowly turn around, meeting the daughter of Zeus. Chapter 11. Issei tried to hide behind Zeus, who also looked quite nervous and scared, since in front of the two of them was none other than Athena, who had a sweet smile, but the aura she emanated indicated the opposite, since it was quite dark and demanded blood, which in this case is Issei's, and anyone who dared to intervene, which in this case is his father. Zeus, daughter, calm down, I ask you to reason, he said, trying to calm his dear daughter. Remember that Issei is not to blame. We had barely taken him out of Tartarus and Athena, and he could have come to visit me, but instead he went with the red lizard, she said, annoyed, greatly offending Murayama. Murayama, now you got a ticket, she said, annoyed, throwing herself against the goddess. Both began to fight, but in the classic women's way, such as pulling each other's hair, biting each other, scratching each other, while the others just watched this with a little nervousness, although there were those who made their bets on who would win: Azazel, Ares, Zeus, and Anubis. This carelessness was taken advantage of by Issei and Rollins, who sneaked to the door with Great Red, who had started another fight between Ophis and Triaxa, giving love to the Gothic lowly, blaming Trixie for that, causing them to fight. 2 hours later, the three of them were flying through the sky of the underworld. Great Red was holding Issei's arms, seeing all the chaos and destruction that this monstrous creature created from Azazel's stupid ideas was unleashing. Several cities and territories of different clans had ceased to exist, and very few demons could also be seen moving rubble in search of survivors. Issei, well, I know it's too stupid to ask right now, but what's the plan? Rollins, put one of these projectiles in his chest so I can stop him, he said, as if it were nothing, while carrying in his arms several spears made with dragon scales with a touch of containment magic. Big Red, there it is, he said, seeing how among some hills the great figure of the beast could be distinguished. Issei, let me tell you, that's not a great idea. If you get that close, the heat will burn you. Rollins, I know. Issei, but... Rollins, Issei, if this doesn't work, call the other immortals. They'll know what to do, he said, ready to go into action. Issei, Rollins, he said, calling the attention of the aforementioned to shake his hand. Everything will be fine. After saying that, Rollins and Great Red flew to where the great beast was with the intention of stopping it while leaving Issei behind, who began to run in the same direction where they were going. Well, he was heading to another territory of the underworld. Rollins, Big Red tries to distract that thing. Big Red, sure, no problem, he said, starting to fly faster until he was in front of the beast, calling its attention. Hey, deformed beast. After insulting him, the creature tried to catch her, but the dragon goddess began to fly to the opposite side of where the territory was in order to get him away from there, which worked in addition to having all his attention, or at least that was what he thought, since the great beast was attentive to any movement that Seth Rollins made without the two noticing. Rollins got as close as he could to the beast, seeing a small hole in the middle of his chest, and when he was ready to stick one of the dragon scale spears, the beast looked at him and spit out a large flame of fire, causing him to fall to the ground engulfed in flames. Rollins, okay, that hurt, he said, trying to recover. But in that, Rollins receives another flame with much more power that even caught the attention of Great Red, who was at a great distance watching this with concern, as well as Issei, who felt that something bad was going to happen if it was Rollins. When he finished spitting out the great flame, you could see a large crater from which the immortal came out somewhat sore, but in that sparks were present, revealing a large wound in his chest which shone with great intensity, scaring Seth Rollins, causing him to shoot into the sky with great speed, passing through Great Red until reaching the upper atmosphere, where a huge sky blue explosion was created as if it had been a nuclear bomb. Issei, Rollins, he said sadly after seeing the great glow that was created with the explosion. Great Red, seeing this, became enraged and decided to take one of the spears to try to stick it into the exposed hole, but the beast gave it a strong blow that sent it flying very far away. Issei, seeing that he was the only one standing, proceeded to take the spears that remained on the floor and then evade an attack from destruction that the beast threw. Issei, let's see, what do you think of this, he said, throwing the spear into the hole but missing, being a few centimeters away. The beast proceeded to throw another destruction attack that Issei barely dodged, but the force of the impact was so great that it sent him flying. But Issei quickly recovered and threw another spear, missing in the same way and causing the beast to spit a flame that Issei dodged by taking shelter behind a rock that withstood the attack a little until it was destroyed, creating a smoke screen. The great beast approached the area of impact of its attack, seeing that there was no sign of Issei, so it began to look for him. Ambrose was hiding behind a tree on top of a hill, watching as the great beast passed by him. Issei held tightly to the last spear he had left, so he proceeded to split it into two and then take some branches and cut some vines, which he began to use as rope. The great beast, seeing that he couldn't find Issei in the open area, decided to look around the trees for something out of the ordinary until he saw him behind the tree with his hands to work, so without hesitation he fired a large burst of fire combined with destruction magic, destroying the entire area. Without a doubt no one could survive that. But unfortunately for the beast, Issei was someone normal, and he just happened to be standing on top of a hill face to face with him, while some burns and scratches were noticeable with what appeared to be an improvised bow with a spear as an arrow. "Issei, die beast," he said as he shot the quarry arrow at the beast, hitting the hole, thus piercing its heart, killing the horrible beast at last. Issei fell to his knees quite tired, while behind him Great Red approached at great speed, which without hesitation gave a tremendous blow to the beast's jaw, decapitating it, making sure that it did not dare to make a single more movement without anyone's consent, and then turned his gaze to Issei, who greeted him while taking gasps of air.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.